art comes from consciousness. That was said by somebody, I can't remember today. But I heard it quoted in a movie, actually, or an interview, actually, on television. So I kept that in my head because basically the life of probably the writer and the illustrator and people involved with the arts has to do with that kind of feeling. And one of the ways you can reach that state of unconsciousness is you have to be alone. You have to work alone. The illustrator has to be alone to work most of the time. It's not a factory where you have 20 other illustrators with you doing all these pictures, even though Hallmark does it that way. Like for Hallmark, you have a bunch of illustrators with you. But a freelance illustrator usually is on his own in the studio, losing consciousness, basically. So you're alone a lot of the time, and the rest of the world goes by, and you don't know what's going on out there sometimes because you're lost for hours in this unconscious world you're trying to come up with these concepts and ideas. And until the phone rings or something like that and it wakes you up, you're out there alone. And most of the time you get up in the morning, in my case at least, and that's all I do. I go and have my breakfast, go to the studio, and I don't see anybody for the rest of the day till I'm done. Come upstairs and then see the family. But that makes it poignant that today I had a great treat by coming here because I had a lot of fun watching the committee at work today and showing me all the passion that is put in to selecting books, reading the books, enjoying the books that you do and the way you do it. In an era today where I teach a class at School of Visual Arts where trying to teach students also illustration and the principles of it, where a lot of people don't like to read, and it's great to see that there's still people holding that up and that are pushing for the younger generation that's coming to keep that tradition that's needed for the future. Reading as something primordial and the most important thing, I think, for anybody to succeed in life. If you read, you will get far. So it was a treat to see the committee at work, and I thank you for giving me the honor of being here, because I got to see you at work. But here's another thing I want to follow with too. Richard speaks about how he met his wife. And I'd like to follow along those lines also, because when I started my freelance career, I had a steady job, and I quit. Why? Because a freelancer has to work full-time trying to get work. And you don't get a check until you get work. It's not like you at the end of the month, there's some money waiting for you. So I had to do that. But about 28 years ago, I met somebody. Around that time, I was thinking, I'm going to quit my job and freelance. And this person, who I started dating, had 2 children. Little boy, 1 year old, around 1 year old, and 4 years old, 2 boys. And here I am thinking of starting a career as a freelancer, which means, no check, no, you're out there on your own. So she decided that she loved me. I decided that I loved her, and she was going to follow me to New York, because I was living in Florida at the time. And I moved to New York to start my freelance career. Now, saying all that, taking all those risks, right? Because that's what you do, you take a risk. Somebody had told me there's 50,000 illustrators in the area of New York. Think you're going to get work over there with all that competition? So that's what I was facing. But I think there was somebody down there in Florida that might have had a little worry, and I think it must have been Dad, her dad. I mean, she's going with this guy. What is he? Puerto Rican? See, because what happens is this. Her dad is a Jewish Argentinian. And my wife is Cuban Argentinian Jewish. So I'm sure he was a little worried. What is this guy, Puerto Rican guy, going to do with my daughter and my grandchildren? Their lives are going to change, and he's taking them to New York. And what is this, freelance? Guy doesn't have a job? Well, I think it would be very interesting for him to be here tonight, because he is very proud that I was awarded, that I got this award today. Thank you for that. The reason he's not here, unfortunately, he's involved with real estate in Florida. So I'm sure he couldn't make it because of that, and that's something we took into consideration. But his heart is here with us. And I wanted to mention that thanks to Richard, I could come up with these illustrations that he loves so much, because the story was told very well, was written very well. I usually turn down manuscripts that I don't feel show anything in my head. A manuscript is successful for me as an illustrator when I start reading it, and right away there's a movie going on in my head. I see some pictures going right through. I say, yeah, I could draw it this way, I could put it this way. I see Martin Luther King sitting on a sidewalk, kind of dejected and angry because he can't go and swim in a pool that's only for white people only. That was one of the pictures that came into my head when I read the story. And that's how it starts working in my head when I read a manuscript. And right away I knew, yeah, I think this is something I have to illustrate, besides the fact that I know about Martin Luther King and the civil rights movement since I grew up in the 60s. And secondly, I didn't know who Hesse was really. I had heard the name civil rights, and now I was learning something new, which is another thing that is great for the illustrator when we do picture books. We always learn something new, get new information that enlightens us and takes us to another level when we start thinking about it and putting concepts together and putting illustrations together. So I think that when I do this work, I get as much from it as much as I get back. And for that I thank Richard for his writing, my editor, his editor also, and my designer, Melissa Nelson, who helped with the design of the book. And of course, like I said, all of you in the committee who got me here today. Thank you all.